What's up? It's time to get tiny as we take a look at the Micromaster Military Patrol. I got all these little guys off a bloke called Graham on Twitter, who, for some inexplicable reason, is selling all of his Transformers, but still very much staying in the loop of everything. And it's like, how? Why you do this? Why are you doing this? But anyway, he's clearly taken very good care of these four little lads over the years because they are mint, and I just really rather like them very much. So I thought, let's take a good little squint at them on camera. And squint at them, probably the operative word, because they're so small and I just can't really hold them up to you properly. So roll on the B-roll. Micromasters are a bit of a, well, let's face it, to everyone pretty much really, aren't they? They occupy that area of G1 that is just so obscure that you don't really know about it unless you were there and remember it. And I wasn't, because it was like, what, 1989? Yeah, a bit before my time. But I learnt about that era of G1 through things like the old Dreamwave More Than Meets the Eye guidebooks. Yeah, try typing that into Amazon and getting anything but the current comic series. Yeah, you can't buy these anymore. You can't get them for love and money. I've only got like 4 issues. I would love the whole set because this is what G1 is to me. When it was at that time when, yeah, I was already into Transformers, but it was like properly exploding as Armada just burst into my face in 2003. I just went mental for everything, and at the comic shop that I used to go and get the issues of Armada at, they had a few of these kicking around, and I was like, what's that? What's this? I'll have some of them. And through the process of flicking through these pages, looking at all of these different profiles and weird old robots that I'd never seen before, I got to know what G1 was, and quite a lot of them, it seemed, are called Micromasters, because each one of them, you know, despite the fact they're tiny, like old Dropshot here, gets a full page bio. These things are chock full of Micromasters, and it's like, okay, what's the real deal with these guys? Because, to be honest, the only Micromasters I've ever handled are these ones that are all like combiners, and you just stick them together into a vaguely deluxe-ish lad, and, you know, it's kind of like Devastator, or it's kind of like Defensor, and yeah, they were my first introduction to anything called Micromasters. The Energon line, getting my first combiner together that was only like 6 inches tall. So I guess I've got a little bit of a history with the tiny folk that these are, but I'd never experienced any G1 ones, and I'd always seen that, yeah, there is some character here. Maybe not the combiner ones where you like stick the end of a tanker truck and a space shuttle together to make something. Nah, mate. But all the individual sort of ones, the self-contained little robos that come in a pack of 4, that vaguely reminded me of Minicon teams. In the way that Minicon teams probably remind a lot of people of Micromaster teams, I thought, yes, let's go for it. I've got to dip my toes into this pool. And so when Graham put up that he was selling all of his Micromasters and there was a picture of the Military Patrol there, I thought, I'll have those lads. They look pretty nice, and I know at least about Dropshot and Tracer from these guidebooks, because I don't have the volumes that have Bombshock or Growl in. So, you know, 2 out of 4, it's alright. I suppose I should mention that beyond those guidebooks, I do have the old big Transformers Identification and Price Guidebook, the Bible as Ray used to call it, and I know about Micromasters from there a little bit more. But yeah, let's face it, they're obscure. You probably can't remember all their names even if you were alive in 1989. So here we go, let's have a look at Dropshot first. Second only to Bombshock, I imagine. This is the guy with the most provenance in his name, maybe? Yeah, there was that big Universe guy who was a repaint of Scattershot that was sand brown, and he was good. I didn't get him because I got the green Overload instead. But yeah, I kind of would enjoy Dropshot. I could certainly see a lot of the appeal with that thing, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of Dropshot in my head. And then this little blue fella rolls along and reminds me that he is a little blue fella. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. There's no similarity here at all to that Universe thing that I know about already. But he's nice. He's just a blue little, like, armoured truck thing, reminding me a little bit of, oh, actually, Armada Rollout in some ways, in this little front end bit here. Yeah, he's just got a little turning turret, and he's completely blue. He's nice. Unfurl him and he's just a stocky little robot, and just feels like, yeah, he's a proper little brawler. He's going to mash you up. He likes to punch guys, probably. Yeah, if that bio in the guidebook's anything to go by, that's exactly all he is. So there he is with his red trunks over a green, possibly Unitar underneath all this blue stuff. maybe looking vaguely like the Martian Manhunter. That's stretching my DC knowledge, to be honest. He's just characterful. All these little guys have got great little head sculpts, and yeah, woo, Dropshot. He's slightly hench for a guy who's only 1.5 inches tall. Let's go Bombshock next, because he's the other guy that I already heard the name of before. The old PCC. I guess you could say that torso lad is a bit of a succession to this little fella. They're both green, they've both got turrets. But yeah, he just really feels like the diddiest tank in the world. And yet, the gun goes up and the bit goes round, and that's more than deluxe figures these days do. Much like Dropshot, it's just a slab of a primary colour, but at least he's got the treads painted, so you know, there's enough going on here. Just a little green tank. Doesn't need to be anything more. Spin some bits around and you've got just another kind of hench but small looking robot, wearing the world's biggest pair of white Y-fronts. Once again, you've got a characterful head sculpt and a decent amount of solid vehicle chunk, and he's got the turret on his back and he just looks like a very small brawl. Bit of a sad thing though, you outstretch his arms and they can't go past his chest. It's like the section that's his shoulder is longer. If you spin his arms around the wrong way, then they go further. It just makes you think, why didn't they put his fists in this end? What's going on? Something I realise I failed to mention with Dropshot is the fact that all these guys have got independent legs, at least at the knee, and that took me aback a little bit because all the other Micromasters I ever had just got static mono legs, and I was like, whoa, actually they've got an actual kind of separate thing here going on, which definitely adds to just the polish that these guys seem to have. Next up is Tracer. The odd one out because he isn't a land-going armoured vehicle. He's just an odd-looking black helicopter. The rotors spin round and he's got nice blue paint on his cockpit, and there's all this stuff at the back that's like thrusters or something. Is that what that is? I don't know. And he's got two tiny little wheels, but there isn't a bit on the back, so he always just sort of wobble about as soon as you put him on a surface. But just like the rest of the guys in this set, it just feels like a perfect little Decepticon Auto. It's just a black Apache, kind of Apache, not really an Apache, just a black little helicopter. It's fun. Transform him and you get a whole accessory thing going on. The rotor comes off and it goes on his arm like a blade thing. And what? This is a Micromaster. He's got a little weapon thing. What's going on there? That's like another step up. Individual knees and a weapon thing going on two of them. Blimey. Bit of a shame though, because Tracer does have the weakest robot mode, but these just really weird legs. The way that the tail just tucks up between his knees. It just almost looks like his legs are in the position where he's shuffling around with his trousers around his ankles. But now he's out of the way, we can get on to my favourite, Growl. He's just a little jeepish kind of thing with a big gun on the top, and that goes round as well, and yeah, I just really like him. It's very much just a very small swindle, just like Bombshock is a bit like Brawl. There's just something here that, yeah, I really, really like. The angles of the front of the Jeep, and it just feels like the perfect shape. And you get to pop his gun off and stick it on his arm like some sort of Megatron fusion cannon deal, but it's not really because it's a bit thin and it's probably a bit more like Swindle's big thing, so yeah. And here we have another small robot sporting a very large pair of Y-fronts, but he just feels the best. Yeah, a lot of the detail here just feels so right for a little Jeep guy like this. Maybe it's just my own personal bias towards Jeep robots, but the legs look right. All these lines down here, and there's nice detail going on his chest. He's got a really good head sculpt, even if it's just Jazz's head. And I guess also a lot like Swindle, he has the front end up on his back, so you see these wheels over his shoulders. I like that. It's just a visual touch that brings something to the table, even if his arms are a bit on the pudgy side. So that's the Micromaster Military Patrol. And what a lovely little bunch of roustabout robots they are. They're just proper little bruisers up for a bit of a mosh, and they're colourful and they're fun, and they feel like they transform just right, and you know, they're barely 2 inches tall, so I can take them into work. So it looks like I'll be up for more Micromasters in the future. I'd certainly like a lot with Big Daddy in, just because you get Big Daddy in there and that's just a laugh. So big thanks to Graham, go say hi, and I'll catch you next time.
Oh yeah, you want them tunes, boy? Do it, do it, do it.